All right, so before we wrap up this lesson and we move on from the stock market, there's one tool in this model that I haven't touched upon, and that is FLDs. What do we use FLDs for in the stock market? Personally, I use FLDs to find cycles in real time. I was using the filter throughout this lesson to find the 20-week cycle highs and lows, but in real time, remember, filters have lag and you cannot really use them in real time. Instead of using the 20-week cycle filter for finding highs and lows in this cycle, you could use the FLD. So you see in the screen here, I have the blue line is the 20-week cycle filter. Let me turn this into an FLD. For that, I just need to move forward by 38 days, which is 25 times 1.5, as I showed you in the FLD lesson. What you see in the screen now is the 20-week cycle FLD. And the simple rule for finding the 20-week cycle in real time using an FLD is to just wait for prices to test the FLD. So testing it works, crossing above it and back below it is even better, obviously, but both of these work just fine for finding the 20-week cycle in real time. And you can see that it's not perfect, but it does work. So you can use the 20-week FLD to find the 20-week cycle in real time. You can use the FLD quite reliably in this manner. You can also use the forecast to aid you. So when you see this peak here on the FLD, you should expect prices to make a low. And indeed, that is what you see here. Not every peak in the FLD will line up with a low in the price section. Not every low in the FLD will line up with a high in the price section, but you can always use it as a reference. Likewise, prices will not always touch or cross the FLD when they're making a high and a low on this 20-week cycle, especially in the stock market, but oftentimes they do. The rule is quite simple. Just wait for prices to test it. Here in 2021, for example, there's only 2 occasions where the FLD is crossed. It's here and here. And if I bring up the filter, you can see that indeed, only in these 2 occasions where the FLD was crossed did the filter actually highlight a low for this cycle. So again, since filters have lag and you cannot use them in real time, you can instead use the FLD, and crossing both sides of the FLD or testing the FLD is oftentimes as good of a signal that there is a 20-week cycle turn. And you can also use this for the longer term 18-month wave. In fact, in the case of the S&P or any US stock index, the 18-month FLD is quite reliable in highlighting where the 18-month highs and lows are. So if you consult with the table that I gave you, if I want to build the 18-month FLD, I need a 98-day moving average, and I need to displace it forwards by 146 days. I'm going to round this again, so I'm going to make it 100 days, and I'm going to move it forward by 150 days. And let me just build that real quick. And hide these 2. So now I've brought up the 100-day moving average, and I moved it forward by 150 days, and this is the 18-month cycle FLD on a daily chart on the S&P, and this I've found to be quite reliable in highlighting the highs and lows in the 18-month wave. So let's just go back all the way to the beginning in March 2009. And in order to highlight an 18-month cycle using an FLD, all I require is for prices to either test the FLD or cross below it and then back above it. And you can see that the black arrows are already highlighting this 18-month low. You can see it in the chart. And yeah, sure enough, whenever prices test the FLD or cross below it, we do see the 18-month cycle make a low or high. So it is quite reliable. But I should warn you, quite reliable doesn't mean you can always use it. Look at this example in 2015, for example. Prices crossed below the FLD, the back above, then below, then back above. That doesn't mean that this here, the area in the blue rectangle, which is barely 6 months, is an 18-month cycle. It's not. So this is the thing about FLDs. They are not as reliable as the filters themselves. However, you're not going to count on a filter in real time. Filters have lag. So in lieu of that, you have to rely on FLDs, but you have to be smart about how you use them. Always use the filter when you can. The filter is the best tool to identify highs or lows in a cycle, but you cannot use it in real time. So in lieu of that, you can use FLDs. But here during COVID, for example, is very useful to know because there was a lot of confusion during this time period. But if you're using this 18-month FLD, you can see that prices crossed below it, then back above. And you should usually wait a few weeks, a few months to see if prices will not dip back below the FLD. But once you notice they don't, you can say, hey, I think March of 2020 was an 18-month cycle low. And you would be right. And you can do that by using the FLD. So FLDs require you to be a bit more tactical. They have a bit more nuance. They are not as powerful as the filters, definitely not, but they can be pretty powerful indicators if you use them right. In the case of March of 2020, I was using the 18-month cycle FLD because I suspected that March 2020 was a low, but when I saw that prices had crossed below the FLD, back above, and they stayed above for a few months, I used that as a confirmation that indeed the low was in. In the case of 2022, you could have used the FLD to pinpoint the low. Remember when this FLD is peaking, going flat, and then going down, that should coincide with an 18-month cycle low, and indeed it did. It actually pointed to that low pretty nicely. So what is the harm of having a forecast for October 2022 being a likely 18-month cycle low and being right? And here at present, the FLD is highlighting that maybe August of 2023 was an 18-month cycle low. We will see about that. Again, these forecasts on the FLD are not super reliable, but trading above and below, like trading both sides of an FLD or testing an FLD, is usually a pretty good indicator that the cycle that you're looking at has made a turn. In the case of the stock market, I find that this 18-month FLD is quite useful in telling me in real time what the 18-month wave is doing.